This single tool that I have right here in my hand acts as a friction saver, double friction saver, canopy tie, basal anchor, and a spar connecting point. Having said that, let's get into it. Hello, this is Bino. I'm an arborist and a tree climber specialist. What I like to do on my channel is share tree climbing tips with beginners and experts. Today we're going to talk about the Buck Tree Super Saver. Buckingham Manufacturing sent us this Super Saver, and I really want to go over it. On the end, if you look at this, it has a sewn eye, and they have this hardware where you can connect as a friction saver. You go further down, and this has connecting points that you use carabiners, and they're actually rated connecting points as long as you're doing it in between the sewn eyes. They also have this press-sec with hardware. Now these are the points where you're going to use it as a friction saver and a few other things. If you follow this down to the end, they have this eye on the end. It's a sewn eye, and also you can connect a rope, so when you're installing, if you're using it as a friction saver, at any point you can bring it back down to you without it getting stuck in the tree. So I'm excited. I want to show you guys how to do the friction saver installation and bring it down. And also there's going to be another one where you can use two ropes. One is a safety and one is climbing line. Aside from showing it as a friction saver, we're going to use a component that you can take off and use it kind of like a hard 8 to make a canopy tie. We'll also show how to do a basal anchor with this and what you can do for a spar tie-in point. All right, let's get to it. The first thing I wanted to show you is how to install this as a friction saver. So I've already installed it to a low crotch here, and it's isolated. You have to have it isolated in order to do this. And I've already got the other part of my throw line over the wide eye on the Super Saver. So the next thing I want to do, this is kind of like reverse of the other regular friction saver where the eye is in a different, it's on the opposite side. So what I want to do is I'll get the throw line, I'll put it in the small hole, and I'll retie my bag. What this bag's going to do is get hung up on the, it's going to get hung up on the small hole, and as I pull, it'll pull that small eyelet over. So I'm going to use an anchor hitch with a slip. It's the way I like to do it. All right, so there I go. Now what I'm going to do is get over to this side, and I'm going to pull this. Now as I pull, what this is going to do is go over the branch, and they're going to swing to each other. Let me make it a little bit longer. What's nice is this is adjustable. So if you had a huge branch, you can make this pretty wide. Really a nice thing to do. Oh, you know what I want to do before I send this up? I'm going to put my other ball through this one just in case. I don't want to, if it gets stuck, I'll just leave this here, and if I need to pull it out, I'll be able to get it down from the ground instead of having to climb up into the tree. So I'll throw this around. I'll make another anchor, and I'll just connect right here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is back to this line, and I'm going to install. So now, just like the other friction saver, regular old friction saver, you pull this up to your branch, and now once you get there, you bring it over, pull it over the branch, and now you would drop your ball down. Now that we've got the friction saver set up with the throw line, what I'll need to do is get the throw line connected to the climbing line here. And I'll do it with a couple of clove hitches. Okay, get one clove hitch here, and then I'll do another. Some guys like to just use a half hitch, but I just don't like it to come off on me, so I usually put 2 cloves. And really will pull it in straight. Now if you have a splice eye, you might tie in through that. So now I'll send it up to go through the double rings there. All right, so now once it's there, I'm free to use this as a friction saver. It really takes away a lot of the friction on the bark of the tree. What's really cool about this is if you, I mean, you could still do it the old way, where if you tie on this one, you'd have to tie a figure of 8 to pull it out of the tree. So if I tied a figure 8 on this, I could pull this line and then it'll go through the big hole of the friction saver and get stuck on the small one, and I could pull it out if I pull the line. But if you had a secondary line like this throw line here, and if it's tied to that ring, now what you can do is you could just pull this out and it'll open up, and then you can bring it back down without having to do that tie-in. So that's one way to do it. That's just one of the many aspects that you can do with this super saver. The next thing I'll show is how to tie with a friction saver and having a safety line. The next thing we're going to show is a friction saver with a climbing line and emergency rescue line installed from the ground. So a lot of times what is important to have is an emergency rescue line if you're climbing in tall trees. So this is a neat concept because with this you can do that. So what you want to do, we already put the ball in there to, if anything goes wrong, I can get it back out of the tree without having to climb. So what I'll do first is I'm going to go to this press-6 side, and I'm going to use this as my static line. So this will be my SRS line, and I'm putting it on the bottom further away from the press-6. So the next one I'm going to do is I'll put, this is the double rope line, or the MRS line. I'll put it closest to the press-6. Now I've got them through the hardware, and what I'm going to do is send this up over the branch and bring it to the opposite side. So to do that, Buck Tree sent us this cool clip that's meant for this. You can click it on, and then I'm going to click it to the ball. And so right after this, now next thing I got to do is go to the other side, and I'm going to pull this over the branch. So I got both lines, my static line and my MRS line. Get to the top, pull it over. Now I'll bring it down. All right. So now once I get it down here, I'm going to take this ball off, and then I'm going to go to the hardware. My SRS line will go through the hole, the smaller hole that's further away from the tie-in point, and my MRS line will go in the big hole. Now what I'll do is I'll grab that clip again, and I'll clip it through the eye and the other eye. Now what I'm going to do is I'll get them, hold on, yeah. Now I'm going to snug it up, get it close so it's not moving around. Now I'm going to grab the ball, and I'll send it, instead of clicking the ring in, I'm just going to put the rope in, right? And it's going to help me later to pull both lines down. So I'm going to do it just like if it was a throw line. Now I'm going to go over to the beginning point here, and I'm going to start pulling these both lines. And once I start to do that, I want to grab the ball and keep track of it. I don't want it to get really loose. I want to kind of keep it close. So now I'm going to start pulling it up. And the idea is to get both of these over the crotch and keep it tight. I don't want to get that ball all tangled up. I get there, and now what I do is send it over. All right, cool. Now once I got it sent over, I'm going to drop the ball. There we go. Here comes the ball. Oops, it's on the rope. All right, now I'm going to drop the ball down. All right, now once I got that, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the other ball on the opposite side, and I'll bring it over. Let's see. Got a lot. We're really low, so it's going to be a little bit of throwing or pulling through here. Okay. There we go. Now I'm going to go slow because I don't want to have this all tangled up in the extra line. All right. I'm going to go slow. Try not to let it get tangled. Okay, hold on. There it goes. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Now we're at the crotch. Now I'm going to pull it over, and here it comes right back down to me. Now at this point, I'm going to grab both parts of my throw bag. Hang on, let me get it all straightened out. And I'm going to pull it down. Here we go. Hang on. There we go. Now I'm going to bring it down to the ground. There we go. So at this point now I'm going to disconnect both eyelets. I'll get my carabiner off, or my snap off, and I'm going to get my throw lines out of there, or my throw bag line out of the way. Let's just get it out of the way. And now we already have this retrieval line on here. What you can do with the retrieval line is just get it out of the way, maybe get it close to the tree, maybe put it in the bag and leave it close to the tree. But now what I have here are two tie-in points. The ecstatic line here, what I'll do is, to the small side, I'll put a figure of 8 stopper knot on it, and I'll butt it up and lock it in. And this other one will be an MRS line. It'll be my emergency line. What's really nice about this feature, if you're able to set it up real high in the tree and you're working, you can set it up and have an emergency access line. The next component I wanted to show you is this pressic. It's has 3 wraps. You could take it off, and what you can use this piece as is a soft, well, not really, there's something called a soft 8, but you can use this piece of hardware like a hard 8. Let me get it off. Let me pop that off. So you just unravel it, and then what you'll do is you're just going to let the pressic hang. You'll get your rope, your climbing line, you're going to set it up through, and now what you're going to do is clip your rope to the line, and then you're going to go and send it up over the branch. This is a good canopy anchor that you can use. So send the rope over. So now once you got it back, what you do is get this section here. You'll throw your line in, and then on this side here, what you're going to do is you'll make a figure of 8 on a bite. This is what Buck recommends, is a figure of 8 on a bite. So you'll do your figure of 8 on a bite on your smaller eye. Okay, that's your figure 8, and you want to back your figure 8 with a carabiner back onto itself, so there's no chance of it coming undone. You go through the eye and then lock into the line. Now you're going to grab this part of it, of your line, and then pull it up. Now this is going to be your canopy tie, more of like a hard 8. You do your climb. Once you come down, you just pull it from the opposite side and retrieve it back down to the ground. Here's also another thing you can use it as a base anchor. So all you really need to do, you just send it around the tree, you put your eye through and you choke it, and then you can grab a carabiner. You can clip your carabiner onto your climbing line, Once you do that, now you can pull it tight and you can connect through one of the sections. You want to make sure if you connect through the section, you're doing it through the rope and in between a stitch. And there you have it, a basal anchor. So if you were working on a spar, you could throw your line through this super saver, connect your carabiner to it, and back onto your saddle. Get it in. Oh man. Connect it to your saddle. Now what you'll do is you'll tighten up your line in a double rope configuration, MRS. You'll snug up this almost as like you would if it were a tree squeeze. You want to give yourself a little bit of a gap. And if you were, you can even go more. There, if you were spiking up, you can use this in a spar situation. If you had to come down, you can descend with this. What you could also do, if you were set up and you wanted to do, a stationary rope system, you could get yourself a butterfly on this, or actually a figure of 8. Buckingham recommends a figure of 8 on a bite. You could do your figure of 8, and I would connect it back to itself with a carabiner. So I'll take it off of my termination end and connect it here and then back onto itself. Let me see. In this fashion so it won't come undone. And then you can get your rope wrench, connect your rope wrench onto the line, in your system, and you could also use that. You probably want to adjust it and have this have a little bit of a gap so you could get closer to your spar. Here you have it, the Super Saver, a tool with so many different options, and it's all in one. Really cool. I really like the concept of it and all the different things that you can do. So if you guys have any questions about it, or if you want to see any part of this maybe in more detail, give us some comments down below and we'll be happy to do so. As always, we're happy that you guys enjoy the videos. Comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you like what we do, and by all means, share our videos. Take care. We'll see you next time.